Hello, I am Young Ha Young from ASEC. Nice to meet you. The important topic I will present today is the anxiety in Inside Out and the aspects of cyber threat intelligence. And the subtitle refers to the emotion of anxiety in preparation for the unseen. I will give a detailed presentation on the topic of security. The order of the presentation is as follows. Let me give you a brief explanation about AhnLab TIP and the three topics that can be considered the most significant security threats this year. I will explain three topics: exploits, phishing, and info stealers. Before the presentation, I would like to explain the keywords mentioned in the title, which are inside out and anxiety. As the first presentation, I will provide an explanation of AhnLab TIP. Last year, I comprehensively explained the various services provided by AhnLab TIP for each menu here. This year, I will explain a few of the most recently confirmed threat information cases from AhnLab TIP and introduce some new features that were not included last year. Looking at the stages of threat response, we can distinguish between the proactive response stage and the reactive response stage. AhnLab TIP focuses on proactive measures and strategies. Therefore, rather than responding after a threat has occurred, such as after a ransomware infection or the leakage of information from the dark web, the strength of AhnLab TIP lies in its ability to quickly provide information that allows for proactive measures to prevent such threats from arising. In this slide you are currently viewing, I have listed several important points regarding the area of proactive measures. So you may have heard a lot about something called ASM. AhnLab TIP has the capability to create separate reports for clients when vulnerabilities are detected in exposed IP assets targeting domestic IPs. We are currently monitoring the dark web and private Telegram channels in real time. Therefore, when personal information or sensitive corporate information is leaked, we provide that information in a separate report format. And now, if we were to mention AhnLab's greatest strength that other TI vendors do not have, it would be that we have a variety of endpoint products. There are various products such as V3, MDS, and EDR, and based on the threat information collected through these products, we are proactively reflecting it in AhnLab TIP. Additionally, we operate our own honeypot crawler and have a specialized incident response organization called a FIRST, which allows us to obtain and provide information on how this malware was infected and what vulnerabilities were exploited faster than anyone else. Earlier, I mentioned the part about strengths, referring to the real-time information collected through our internal sensors. A large amount of information is collected by V3. Based on the information gathered here, which I will explain later, we are primarily confirming aspects related to zero-day vulnerabilities. You can check hacking tools that were not publicly disclosed and IOC information that has not been made available externally. The screen you are currently viewing is a new menu that has been added to AhnLab TIP this year. It's a menu called Threat Monitor. Here you can see a map of our country displayed, and on the right you can see a graph showing the detection trends. At the bottom, you can see the files used in the Advanced Persistent Threat, APT attack, such as their hashes, as well as the victim IP information in real time. If you visit the exhibition booth, it would be good to take a look at the menu called Threat Monitor. You can check real-time information about APT threats, and at the top, you can find details about attacks carried out by China-based attack groups, as well as files associated with the North Korean suspected attack group known as Kimsuki. I have brought one example from among them. Red Eye refers to a file that was disseminated by a suspected North Korean attack group. In fact, the detection was confirmed to have occurred on August 2nd. The file name used is a help file called CHM. You can also check the related hash information. However, when checking this hash information with external OSINT providers like VirusTotal, it can be confirmed that the IOC information is only available through AhnLab and does not appear in searches. The reason this is possible, as I mentioned earlier, is that we can verify this information through the data collected from various products. And now, one of the strengths I mentioned earlier is that we create reports proactively for domestic IPs exposed to vulnerabilities, enabling us to respond to those vulnerabilities. On the right, you can clearly see the software exposed to vulnerabilities by date, along with the number of domestic IPs mapped to it. The chart you are currently viewing reports on vulnerabilities that have been exploited in ransomware and malware attacks and other related threats, which are periodically reported separately by the US CISA. This is the result of scanning domestic IPs using several vulnerabilities that were exploited in actual attacks mentioned by CISA. The blue on the far left represents the number of IPs using the corresponding software. The pink one on the far right represents the IP that is using the actual vulnerable version. So, in the case of Jenkins on the far right, you can see that specifically, approximately 2,800 IPs are exposed to a vulnerable version. So there are actually many more environments exposed to vulnerabilities than one might think. As mentioned earlier, in the case of ransomware and malware infections, many vulnerabilities are being exploited during the initial infiltration stage, which requires security personnel to be cautious. And the content I am showing you now consists of 3 key security issues that have been reported this year. The first is a press release from the National Intelligence Service, and it is from March. The title is a warning from the National Intelligence Service on North Korea hacking semiconductor companies. The second point is that an analysis of the email attack on the National Tax Service, which was posted in Security News, reveals that it is part of North Korea's Kimsuki APT campaign. And the third point is that the number of software supply chain attacks originating from North Korea, as reported by the Electronic Times, is increasing. The title is Security Software is the Main Target. If you read this press release and post, you can list the keywords you see on the right. So there are exposed servers on the internet, software vulnerabilities, emails, and software supply chain attacks. If we gather them under a broad theme, we can narrow it down to 3 items: exploit, phishing, and info stealer. I will elaborate on the aspects of the first exploit in detail. Recently, there has been a significant increase in cases of malware distribution exploiting vulnerabilities in domestic software. It is actively ongoing. The table on the left shows the solutions for which exploitation circumstances have been confirmed. The term exploitation context refers to cases where malware distribution has been confirmed using this software. However, it has not been confirmed whether this is a vulnerability or simply an exploitation, but it indicates the software and the number of users that have been confirmed to be exploited. The table you see on the right shows cases where AhnLab confirmed actual zero-day vulnerabilities, reported them to CISA, and patches were implemented. At the very bottom, a Microsoft zero-day vulnerability has been identified. AhnLab and the National Intelligence Service jointly confirmed a Microsoft vulnerability and reported it with a patch provided in August. This MS vulnerability has been identified as being used by a North Korean attack group. As you can see, attacks using asset management solutions are being carried out very actively. In fact, regarding VPN solutions, it can be said that individual users are also targets and not just businesses. Vulnerability attacks aimed at individual users are also being carried out very actively. What you are seeing now is a case where forensic work was actually conducted. There was an incident of information leakage within the company. Upon analyzing how the initial infiltration occurred, we found that there was an asset management solution server exposed to the outside. The server exploits a zero-day vulnerability to create an administrator account. Through the generated administrator account, the web shell file is installed. And this can be seen as a case where malicious code was installed on multiple systems using the update policy that this asset management solution normally has. This case is an example of a supply chain attack that targeted individual users, and there are various VPN providers in the country. However, it is not referring to a specific instance, but rather to cases where multiple VPN solutions have been compromised. As you can see, the certificate was distributed in a valid form, but the installation file contained various backdoors. Saying that a certificate is valid implies that the developer's system or the signing-related servers of the VPN provider may have been compromised, leading to the distribution of malware. You can see that a large number of small VPN providers are facing these attacks. So, the malware is named SparkRat, Silver, and Mesh Agent, and we can confirm that various backdoor functioning malware has been distributed. And this is a case where ransomware was infected in an OT environment. Usually, an OT environment is considered a completely closed network, so one might wonder how ransomware got infected. Upon investigation, it turns out that regular security checks are performed. There are tools needed to perform security checks, and to download those tools, you need to connect to the internet. It's just a brief connection. However, in that situation, there was an infection by a type of ransomware called Phobos. The person in charge connected it to a closed internal network, which caused issues. From the perspective of AhnLab TIP, it was known malware, and there was no damage to equipment where the lock mode of the solution called EPS was activated. Damage only occurred in systems where lock mode was turned off. And now, until now, I have talked about vulnerabilities related to VPNs and asset management solutions. In fact, vulnerability attacks using MS SQL are being conducted most actively. Since there have been so many occurrences, we provide separate reports on attacks using MS SQL vulnerabilities through AhnLab TIP on a quarterly basis. This is a case of phishing attacks, such as various types of cybersecurity threats. You might think that phishing attacks are indeed nothing new since you've heard about them so often, but they still pose a valid threat and cause significant damage. So, I have split the stages of phishing attacks into 3 categories. When I received my first phishing email, I noticed that it could be categorized into one of 2 forms. Either it contains external links, or it has an attachment. When you click on the link outside or run the attached file, the phishing page displayed prompts you to enter your email account information, and when you click send, the information is transmitted to the attacker. However, fundamentally, phishing pages have the function of redirecting to the original normal site after the information has been transmitted. So, if I enter my ID and password and hit send, but my inbox does not appear normally, or if just a regular site reopens, could it mean that I have been infected by a phishing site? Could my account have been compromised? It might be good to question this from time to time. What I would like to emphasize and explain a bit more is this 3rd stage. The 3rd step is the stage where the attacker receives the email account information. This is where significant changes begin to emerge. In the past, information was leaked by building separate servers, but now there are more cases of using external services to obtain account information. I use the term serverless. No-code form and form-to-chat are services that are often used to obtain account information, particularly through a platform called Telegram. The dark blue you see on the right represents a case of leaking account information by slightly using such external services. The method using traditional web servers accounts for 53%, while the serverless method accounts for 47%. It is expected that this trend will continue to grow in the future. It presents damage data statistics by country and by industry. According to the damage statistics by country, the United States ranks first and our country ranks second. This is only limited to the data statistics that are extracted from leaks occurring through Telegram. ASEC is currently monitoring hundreds of attackers' Telegram chats in real time and analyzing their activities to gather valuable insights on their strategies and tactics. We are currently collecting email account information that is leaked through Telegram, and when our internal clients are identified, we are providing a separate report to enable a quick and proactive response. So, based on that statistic, you can consider it as the national damage statistics and the damage statistics by industry. Yes. Now, I mentioned earlier about proactive measures, which I referred to as preemptive responses. The account information leaked through Telegram eventually ends up on dark apps and is used for financial transactions. We monitor this process in real time to extract email account information, allowing for proactive measures to be taken in a separate report. This case is actually one that has undergone forensic analysis. This is a case that started with phishing emails impersonating the National Tax Service, resulting in financial damage to a specific company dealing with cryptocurrency. The fact is that it is presumed to be an APT attack. There is a system called income tax reporting that occurs every May, and as a result, phishing attacks impersonating the National Tax Service are very active during this time. The company was using an email service provider such as Gmail. Based on the leaked account information for Gmail, access is gained to the company's internal Google Drive. Unfortunately, because multi-factor authentication was not used and there was no secondary authentication, it was possible to access Google Drive with just the leaked account. It indicates cases where wallet addresses used for trading cryptocurrency and important internal documents of companies were leaked, resulting in actual financial damages. So, you can understand that phishing attacks are not just targeted at individuals, but can also cause serious damage within companies. What you are seeing now is not a phishing case, but we are providing URL addresses that have been used in various smishing attacks in real time through the TP service via the V3 mobile product. The last one is the third info stealer, and the most common way this info stealer malware typically gets infected is during the process of downloading illegal software. So, during the process of downloading software like cracks and Windows activation, malware that leads to information leaks can be installed. The screen you are currently viewing shows the flow of malware infection related to information leakage. At first, people would type keywords like the names of free software, download, and crack into search engines like Google or Bing. SEO poisoning refers to a search engine optimization method. This is an attack case where attackers exploit the algorithm of the search engine that shows the top search results, causing the attacker's phishing pages to appear at the top of the search results for keywords related to crack programs. This is a case where a phishing site is exposed at the top of search pages using a technique called SEO poisoning. And if someone visits it and downloads illegal software, malware gets infected. In fact, if you get infected with InfoStealer this way, all the information stored in your browser cache, such as websites, login accounts, passwords, credit card details, and other sensitive data, will be leaked. Not only that, but my documents and other important file types are also leaked. However, the information leaked in this way is being sold as a separate database through platforms like Telegram and the dark web. In the past, when an attacker decided to target a system, they had to struggle from the beginning to find vulnerabilities. However, now, if they simply use platforms like Telegram or the dark web and pay a reasonable fee, they can easily obtain leaked sensitive information and the necessary details for initial access. ASEC has effectively established infrastructure to automatically collect and respond to InfoStealer malware disseminated using these SEO poisoning techniques. So it shows the monthly overview statistics of the malware collected in that way. And the dark blue you see on the left represents the quantity of samples initially at the time of the initial collection. The light blue color represents the results from VirusTotal, when that sample was checked at the time of the initial collection. It indicates cases where most files are either not detected in VirusTotal or returned as normal files. This indicates that we are proactively and rapidly and efficiently collecting and responding to threats even before they are confirmed, in a timely manner. In fact, as you can see on the right, we are providing related content through the ASEC blog and AhnLab TIP, based on the proactively secured samples. The screen you are currently viewing shows the content displayed when illegal software is downloaded through a phishing page created by attackers, as well as the types of malware distributed and the information being taken. This case actually involves a situation where I downloaded illegal software, and as a result of that illegal software, there was a leakage of internal information from the company. This person now downloads some illegal software related to audio sources during the remote work period, and as a result of the information leakage malware contained in the illegal software, they obtain VPN information to access the company's internal network. This is a case where an attacker infiltrated the internal network of a company using the VPN account information they obtained, resulting in a data leak. As you can see from this case, downloading illegal software does not only result in harm to individuals, but can also lead to the exposure of important corporate assets. Therefore, this is one of the areas that corporate security personnel need to pay close attention to. Yes, this is the conclusion. I have explained the phishing cases. In phishing cases, it is noted that serverless methods are often utilized for information leakage. It is not only individuals who suffer, but it can also lead to information leaks within companies. It is stated that two-factor authentication is absolutely necessary. Regarding exploits, supply chain security issues continue to be a hot topic. Attacks utilizing vulnerabilities in domestic software indicate that APT attacks are being carried out very actively. Attacks exploiting MS SQL vulnerabilities are currently the most active. Even in an OT environment, it is possible to be infected by ransomware. In the case of InfoStealer, it often gets installed during the process of downloading illegal software by utilizing a search engine optimization feature known as SEO poisoning. I can confidently say that the confidential and leaked information is being traded on the dark web and plays a very important role in infiltrating actual corporate internal systems. The AhnLab TIP service is not just a solution that provides simple analysis reports. In addition to content, we are reporting APT information in real time based on the collected data from various in-house products. And earlier, a discussion about many solutions like XDR and EDR. Since we also provide services in a separate API format, it would be beneficial to utilize AhnLab's TI services through API integration with other solutions. This concludes the presentation. Thank you.